Our next guest is a former member of Congress from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, U.S. Navy Admiral, and, of course, a frequent contributor to the Jeff Santos Show. He is running for Senate against Pat Toomey on the Democratic ticket. It's great to have our friend, Congressman Joe Sestak, back with us. Congressman, great to have you back. Can you hear me, Congressman?
I can hear you. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for the copy of your book. We got it the other day, and we're going to talk about that. But today, a big news day out of Washington on the TPP. Now, we've talked about this before, but to me, I think we're at a point here where people in America, and I think voters, and particularly in the industrial Northeast of Pennsylvania and Michigan and Ohio and Wisconsin and so forth, that they understand what happened with NAFTA and to those small communities. And I think that we need to put emphasis upon how an issue like TPP, Congressman, I think has opened the door for a lot of people to think, where is our government going in terms of creating good jobs at good wages in these markets? And I want to get your thoughts as somebody who's been there and obviously wants to get to the Senate, and God hope that we see you as Senator soon.
Yes. Well, we all know that in the Western Pacific, China cheats like the heck on everything. Manipulation of currency, subsidies unfairly to its businesses, actually hoarding rare earth minerals. But so we, in principle, want to set the rules of the road with these 12 countries there in the Western Pacific and bind them to fair rules of the road without China doing that. That's very important in principle. But two things. One, we don't in this trade agreement because the administration has not released the details. And when trust is such a deficit in America, how can someone say, trust me, when we don't know what's in it? Because to your point on NAFTA is, look, as one example, what we would have to ensure, for example, is that any worker that might be displaced by this is actually given an opportunity not for a job, but for training in an even better job, because we are the nation that invests the least amount in training and retraining of all the developed nations in the world. So I understand what happened today, because it's like, wait a moment. Above all else, we have to make sure that our workers and families are best addressed in any agreement.
I just think, Congressman, that this is a point, and I was, as you know, I have been a supporter of the president. But I think he was wrong on this from day one. I think he was wrong to go after Elizabeth Warren. And I don't know what's behind all of that. But Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and many other leaders, Sherrod Brown, colleague of yours in the House, I think, for a little bit. The fact is that these individuals have been, blowing the horns on this issue. And it is affected, particularly in the case of Ohio, people's lives. The communities hollowed out, the jobs going from Lorain, Ohio to Guatemala or to the Far East, and I just think that this is something that has to stop. And when there's secrecy, and this is the other part of it, Congressman, because you understand, the foreign policy angle of secrecy and intelligence and so forth. Sherrod Brown told us on this show that his top aide could not get an understanding of what is in this agreement because it's top secret. He could get, however, the discussions between Iran and the United States on the issue of a nuclear bomb, but on this issue, couldn't do it. Barbara Boxer, Senator, couldn't get a phone into the meeting. This is crazy. This is the United States of America, Congressman.
Yeah, Jeff, that's my point, is that how can you vote for something or give it fast-track authority where you aren't allowed to amend it when it comes back when you don't know what's in it? And that was my issue about trust. I want to know what I'll be voting for if I was down there. Number two, look, this is a national security issue. We really do want to have an agreement with these 12 nations, but only if we can verify that it is fair to the American worker. And to me, that's what's most important. I, in principle, believe strongly that we can have a fair trade agreement that's good to American workers, but if you don't know what's in it, how can someone ask you to support it?
Couldn't agree with you more. And there's, we need to, as I was talking with one of our callers earlier who, imports and exports from Chicago to Italy. And, I think when we're dealing with trade in Europe, where it's a fair equivalent, where they have standards, where they have tariffs, where they have certain measures to protect themselves. Again, not to pick on China, but when the Chinese come to steal patents or to take away opportunities from German workers and others, you need to be able to do things to protect yourself. And I just think that is really, really important. But I also agree that we need to also look into the Far East because China's there and could monopolize things. But you don't want to go into something just to be able to play defense and then get yourself and your country in a position where jobs are being lost and trade deals, are further exasperating, people who are being paid 79 cents an hour in Vietnam.
Well, Jeff, this is in my book that you brought up at the beginning. Walking in your shoes to restore the American dream. As you know, I walked 422 miles on foot from the New Jersey to Ohio border across Pennsylvania when I declared my candidacy officially for the United States Senate in March. But then this book has now been published, a result of my time in the Navy, what I learned at the time of congressman, walking in other people's shoes. And when I taught as a professor, this isn't an autobiography. This isn't about me. It's about the American dream and the policies that people hold me accountable for accomplishing them. Helping to accomplish the dream is within the grasp of everyone. The issue within it, you brought one of them up, intellectual property. Studies have been done that if we were able to just close down a lot, not even completely, China's stealing of our secrets, we could create over 2 million jobs. As a head of intelligence once said, it is the biggest theft in history. They just stole thousands of files in the past year from a solar energy company that's in Oregon. And that's how we sit back and say, wait a minute, how can I support this trade agreement unless I know that it has the proper intellectual property protection for American ideas? And that's only one example.
No, you're so right, Congressman. And, I look, there is an understanding here that we don't live in an island culture and we can't be, just thinking about where it was 100 years ago or whatever. But you have this situation where there needs to be real thought-out prospects, and it's not just the 1% that is getting their Republican Party and some corporate Democrats to do this. We're going to talk about that when we come right back. Stay with us, Congressman. It's the Jeff Santos Show. Back in a flash. Well, if any of you are watching MSNBC right now, the hopeful colleague of Congressman Joe Sestak, as he hopefully becomes Senator Joe Sestak, Mr. Casey, on television, talking about fast track and so forth. That would be the good combination, Casey and Sestak, or Sestak and Casey, Congressman. I think that sounds pretty good. We're talking with the congressman running for Senate, of course, again, Senator Toomey, Republican senator, of course, somebody who votes for these trade deals, somebody who understands that it's all about the 1%, and that's why we need to make change in Pennsylvania, just one of those great cities. All right. One of the areas that we've talked about on this show a lot, Congressman, is the issue of education. You talk about it in your book. And you talk about it, on your trails. And a lot of people have come up to you and talked about the student loans that are outrageous. And again, I always bring up the Jerry Brown father situation, Pat Brown in the 1960s, that really dealt with the issue of state education because he made it for free. Then Reagan came in as governor, I believe, in '67, and tried to trash the program. But this is something I think we should revitalize and rehabilitate and bring back to 21st century America. It's a way to educate kids, and if they can do it in California, they can pretty much do it anywhere in the country, in my view. Your view?
Yeah, we've talked a bit about this before, Jeff. I still feel there needs to be some skin in the game from those that are being educated. I like that. I'm helping help myself as well as we're able to, for the common good, to make sure that we are able to assist the individual to get the skills that he needs or she needs to be all they can be. What I propose is there is a different way to go about this. We know that students basically pay off their mortgage, their loan around the 14, 15-year point of the large cohort, and some go later on, further down the pike. But we should be setting it on the 10-year and the 20-year bonds because right now the interest rates we prick out is basically out of the air. And yet, if we did this, what I just proposed, having it down to the 10 and 20 years, we'd have a much lower interest rate than we do today, to where it's more fair to the individual, and the government isn't making money nor losing money. So I think there's a way to go about this in order to make it one where it's this rugged individual trying to be all they can be and putting some skin in the game, but we come together as a common effort in order to help ensure that we are helping to build the rungs upon which that individual rise to achieve their American dream. And we all benefit from that.
Well, again, I still believe that Jerry Brown's father had it right, but that's another way to do it. And former Congressman Jim Moran mentioned about the idea of everyone having community service, and maybe there's a piece of that, that you can incorporate into it as well. That it's more than just Peace Corps or Vista, that it's everybody serving, and maybe there's an education piece there. So there's a whole slew of things. But, they have to be discussed, and they can't be sort of pushed to the back burner any longer, I think.
That's an excellent point. That's actually, I have that in my book. I do believe in national service. And it doesn't have to be the military. In fact, when we have someone come into the military, we need a year of training before they're ready to go out to run and fix the planes on a ship, very technologically oriented type of skill. But so we want 4 years from that. But say someone does AmeriCorps, or someone works in an impoverished portion. And then you could say, wait a minute, your education is addressed as part of your wages, so to speak, that you forgive part of it. I like that concept that we are able to defray some of the costs, or if not all of the costs, by doing something like national service. On the other hand, I also think it helps us bring together people in a more of a united way, not a divisive way, because when two military persons meet, the first question they usually ask is, where'd you serve? And I can see that throughout the United States. Where'd you serve? I was in AmeriCorps over here. That is a bonding we have in the military that I believe could help us across America.
I think it's a great way to look at it, and you're right. You don't have to be overseas with a rifle or on a battleship or in a plane to do it. Congressman Joe Sestak, all the best. Great luck on your tour, on your book, and obviously in the race to be the next senator from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day up there.
You as well, my friend. You as well. It is the Jeff Santos Show, back with your calls. Mark, Peter, and Brad Bannon after this timeout.